We're group zero, and we did the card game, specifically Rummy. My name's Alfredo Vasquez.
And my name is Ethan Science.
And I'm Patrick Abrash.
Here's the start screen. I was responsible for more of the UI and aesthetics of this project. So a lot of these icons on the app are all created within Illustrator and Canva. First of all, there's private properties that are stored within the startup app, which basically reference a guide app and then a settings app. Another function category, which is a bunch of public functions that define a player with a sound signal and the sample rate for it within the audio player. So you can modify it with functions like 3.5, which should make it louder, should make your signal louder. So the guide app is basically just a bunch of images and an OK button, which explain your general rules for the game. Once again, it has sounds so that whenever you click a button, it makes a clicking sound. And then just like in the main app, the way the app designer works is in order to define a function that opens an app, you must make a private property within the other app that cross-references the other app that it's supposed to open. So they both have to have references to each other, obviously, in order to know which app you're referring to. If you go to the design view, a lot of the elements aren't visible until you click other buttons. So for example, if you click the themes button, it'll take you to a set of push buttons that allow you to pick between a color or two other different themes.
The settings app also serves to change whether or not the main app is playing either in online mode where two different computers can face off against each other, or offline mode where people can play against each other on the same computer. And so what we can do is at the start, it will load a file called settings.mat, which contains a bunch of variables relating to what the current settings are, which are both for the visuals that Alfredo was talking about, but also for the online mode. So the startup function you can see here is just basically reading in all of the different values from settings and then assigning them to different objects. A class definition file, all of the things that actually handle what cards are where in the game are either card arrays or most like subclasses of card array. And so we can see that there's a file named array. And so that's basically created so that if you linearly index into it, it will always return the particular file name of a particular card based on the card number. And so all of the card numbers were assigned values from 1 to 52. And then there's a bunch of dependent properties which depend on the cards as well. And so the getter functions are farther down, but we have top card, which returns the value of the current first card in the array.
Yeah, so check Rummy hand was my part in my contribution. I divided into its ranks and suites by setting them equal to using the mod function. Actually, you take the mod and divide it by 13, but first you have to subtract it by 1 because there's like an issue with if you have 13 and then you don't subtract it by 1, you get 0, which causes problems. So first you need to subtract it by 1 and then add that one later to get the corresponding number or rank. And then the suites, you just divide it by 13 and you get the ceiling of that. So you're able to get the direct suite. And then I set that equal to a card table, which corresponded to the ranks and suites. And then from there, I was able to find each individual rank within that set because I already had those numbers corresponding. I was able to run a loop where it takes the sum of the card table dot rank and checks if it's above 3 because you need a sequence above 3. And then from there, I was able to reset it each time to make sure that the set value continued to add in. All these if statements basically check that the summation of the runs and the sets is either 7 or greater than 7, because there are unique situations where you can get a run and a set with the same cards. So you end up getting like 8.
Takes in a handle to the draw pile and discard pile in order to make it so that it can easily access those when it's drawing and discarding. So it has a draw card function, which will take in like a true or false, whether it's drawing from the discard, if true, or false if it's drawing from the draw pile. And so there's a switch statement that will it will go ahead and transfer a card to itself. It will also detect if the draw pile is empty, and then it will just like reshuffle the discard it into the draw pile if that's the case, which is just a quick fallback in case the game gets that long. So let's have a look at the properties. We've got 2 player hands, a draw pile and discard pile. All of those are card arrays, which are handle objects. Then we've got the current player number, which is going to alternate between 1 and 2, depending on whose turn it is. Draw phase, which is a string telling you whether it's in the draw phase or discard phase. There's the current file path, which basically just stores the path to whichever folder the MATLAB app is in, so that when we change images, we need to be able to reference the full file path for that. Then we've got an array of the buttons for hand cards. We've also got the channel ID and the 2 API keys for ThingSpeak. We've also got the online, which is true or false based on whether it's an online game, and my player num, which is a number which stores who the player is, whether you're player 1 or player 2. Then we've got draw choice, which stores whether you drew from the discard or the draw pile, and discard choice based on which card was discarded, which is used for the ThingSpeak communication. Next, we've got await next turn, which is going to basically do an indefinite while loop, which will every 1 second query who the last person to write to ThingSpeak was, and if it is not yourself, then it will progress to the next turn. But if it was yourself, then you're just going to keep waiting and waiting until that changes. And so next we've got read turn data. That's going to take in the ThingSpeak data that was transmitted. Next, we've got write turn data, which is basically the opposite. It will say exactly what the other person needs to know for ThingSpeak. Next, we've got the animate function, which is going to take in a start position, end position, and a file for the card. And then there's an image object that will change the image to the whichever card file is specified, and then it will like use a for loop to linearly interpolate the position from the starting position to the end position. And that's the basis for most of the other animations. Work as buttons.
So if you go to the guide,
yeah, so
shows
that will show the
this.
guide.
You go to the settings, and then here's where we show that
So
we're on online mode right now, and I'm player 1.
Yeah.
Theme's in a bit. That's not a big deal right now, though. And then let's start.
Turn. So you can draw, and then you can. How about you show that you can swap 2 cards around in order, and then we can also press one of the sort buttons to instantly sort them in either by which suit they are or by which rank they are, regardless of suit. And then you can go ahead and press one of the buttons to discard, and then it will now. And now it's my turn, so I'm going to go ahead and quickly take my turn. It'll take about 15 seconds to transmit when I'm done, just because of the ThingSpeak limitations. We'll wait for a minute. All right, now it's transmitted, so now it's good. So now I've just taken my turn. Go off changing themes. So if you press themes.
So right now by default it's set to green, and then with the color picker, as we mentioned, you can go ahead and change the color to whatever color you want. For example, this should be changing it to like a blue.
Right.
And then there's other stuff like you're able to set it back to the default green, and then change whatever theme you want, like a Star Wars theme or a Davis theme. And then you can hit OK, and that should make a change.
You can press the win button. Normally this is only enabled when you have a winning hand, but then now that's going to show the win screen, and so that's going to show both the table of who won in each round. So at the moment we have it that player 1 has won all 3 rounds, and then it'll also show a graph of who's won over time, and then we have buttons to take you either back to the main menu or directly to a new game.